Hi, I'm Heidi with Onigo Stamping. Welcome to my craft corner. Today I am so excited because I have some fun summary cards for you. To me, they remind me of like 70s creamsicles. I don't know. They're gorgeous. I love them. I cannot wait to share with you how to do them. And I have lots of fun tips and techniques along the way that you will not want to miss. Before I get started, if you have any questions about card making, paper crafting, Stampin' Up, or maybe you like to attend an online class or, host a class in your home if you live in mid-Michigan, I would love to help you with any of that. Go ahead and leave me a comment or send me an email and let me know how I can help you. In the description to this video, you are going to find lots of links. One of those links is going to direct you over to my website where you will find photos of today's projects, as well as some of the cutting dimensions and more information. You're also going to have the supply list over there. And in the description of the video, you have links to come over and hang out with me on Facebook, follow my Instagram, join my newsletter, all sorts of stuff going on. So make sure you join me over there too, because there is a lot going on in the Onigo Stampin' world. If you liked today's video, make sure that you like, subscribe, and then share it with your friends. Okay, Onigo. Let's get stamping. Here are the products that we're going to use for today's cards. And I'm hoping to show you 2 cards. Hopefully this doesn't go too long. So I have that Sweet Ice Cream stamp set, which we use this a bunch. The Designer Series paper is no longer available. That was in the Spring Mini catalog, which has now been discontinued. So I thought this was a good time to pull it out and start using it without that Designer Series paper. What else can we do with it? So we're going to use that on the second card. And then the stars of the show today, shall we say, are the Basic Borders dies. Let me show you these. These are some fun dies. And actually, when I started making the projects for today, my plan was to really focus on the Basic Borders dies and use a number of the different dies. Well, I got so hung up with this one right here, this little cloud type one, that's all I use. So I'm gonna have to come back to this another day and use the Basic Borders dies. I'm gonna pull this out right while I have this out here. And then I'm also gonna be using the Playful Alphabet dies on my first card. Now I love these dies. It's just a giant alphabet, right? Woo! Look at all those letters. All right, so we're gonna use that as well. And then I'm using I've used this before, used this lots, but I'm going to show you just once again. It is the 6x6. This comes in each of the color collections. So this is the subtles. And you can see there are 2 designs for each, and you get 2 sheets of each design, right, in a packet. And then here's the other side. So really fun designs, really like those. And we're going to use some of those subtle colors as well as one of the new ink colors, the Pale Papaya. I'm just going to set those aside and we're going to get started working. So the first thing I want to do, let me pull in my paper for this. So for this first card, I have a piece of basic white cardstock, and this is 1 1/4 inch, and I think I've made this probably like 5 1/2. Yeah, so it's 1 1/4 by 5 1/2. We're going to cut one end, so it doesn't have to be exactly 5 1/2, but it's 1 1/4. I have a piece of Pale Papaya. This is, let me see, I'm going to measure it again on my grid paper. It is 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. So 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. And then I did a 3/16 layer. So this is 3/16 inch bigger, which means this was 4 3/4. So this one is going to be 3/16 inch more, is going to be 4 15/16 by 3 11/16. So I just count up the dot. Like I don't keep track of the, I don't keep track of the 15/16 or the 11/16. I just either count up 3 notches from the size that I had before, or I count down from the quarter. I count 1 off from the quarter. So it makes it a lot easier than keeping track of all the 16ths. Just know you count out 3 little ticks. All right, then I have 1/4 inch strips of the lavender lace, the mint macaron, the pool party, the Pale Papaya, and the Calypso Coral, and I'm using the plaid for all of these. So the first thing I want to do, I'm going to set this aside, and then of course I have Calypso Coral 8.5 by 5.5 scored at 4 1/4. I'm going to take my piece of basic white, and I'm just going to put some adhesive on there. I forgot. I want to grab my silicone craft sheet because this is going to get just a little bit messy. So I have my silicone craft sheet, and then I have one of our old sponges. We don't sell these sponges anymore, which is really surprising because we'd been selling them for years, like 20, 25, 30 years. I don't know. But you could use a sponge dauber or just, whatever sponge you got. And I just have it on a little binder clip here. And I'm just going to use this to kind of spread out that glue a little. I just want to get some glue all over my piece of white cardstock. That's why I said it's going to get a little bit messy. All right. And then we will start laying this on. Now I want to try to get it flush with the edge of the cardstock, which I might miss a little bit, but we'll see how we do. All right, there we go. And it, see that one, it hangs off the edge. That's okay. So we're gonna go Calypso Coral, Pale Papaya, Mint Macaron, that one's just a little bit short, but it's going to be fine too. Pool Party, and these are 1/4 inch strips, but they might not quite equal 1 1/4 because sometimes that happens. I mean, the cutting is not, exact, right? We try to get it super precise, but, and then this is the Highland Heather. And I'm just lining those right up, pushing them flat against each other. Get off my extra glue. So take my silicone craft sheet away. And hopefully those are all kind of just lined up. I'm going to take my trimmer and just trim off a little bit. Sometimes I just, put this on the paper before I even cut it to the right size. So and I can see just a little bit of that white, so I'm just going to cut that off up here. We'll cut off the very end down here. I'm going to trim this off with the dies in just a minute, but I'm just going to cut it off for now just to get any excess glue out of the way. And then we'll trim that piece off down there too. All right. And somehow they ended up not being quite straight, but I think it is going to be just fine. Now I'm going to bring in my magnetic platform or your base, depending on what system you have. And I'm just putting down a cutting plate. And then I'm going to put my little rainbow strip on there. And now I just want to lay this. So this little rainbow strip is kind of, I should say the little cloud strip is over the edge there. I'm going to cover it up and run this through my die cutting machine. So I ran that through. Let's see what it looks like here real quick. So that's just going to come off, and you can see we have this nice like cloud end to it that has that little bit of stitching on it. Love it. All right, next I'm going to emboss my piece of Pale Papaya with the Dots embossing folder. Now I've showed you this before, but I'm going to show it to you again because this whole piece does not fit in here. So I'm just going to start by doing one side of it. I'm going to try to line it up straight. I pull in my other platform. I'll run this through. Now to do the dots on the other side, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull this through and I'm going to line up. You can feel when those dots kind of are in the grooves, right? And when you get that set, then I'll just go ahead and close it again. and we'll run it through and grab the other side. So now I have that full sheet of embossed dots. Yay! Love it. Love it. So pretty. All right. I'm going to set this aside. All right. We're going to grab the Playful Alphabet dies. We're just going to do hello. Okay. So actually, I don't know why I put my magnetic platform away. I knew there was something else I had to cut. I'm just going to set that up and grab my dies to say hello. I don't know why I have trouble, you know, finding the letters in alphabetical order. Does that ever happen to you? All right. We'll cut these. Put my letters back in place. I always like to put them back in place. I have a magnetic sheet in here, so they just stick to it really nicely. And I just put them back where they go, so they're always in alphabetical order. And I did take a Sharpie and I wrote on there the letters, so if for some chance I have a lot of letters off, it just makes it a little bit easier to know where they go. Now I have a piece of basic white cardstock, and I'm going to glue my hello onto this. I want to leave a little bit of space around the outside. Actually, I'm going to grab my silicone craft sheet again. I always forget this, but I know that it really saves me from making a giant mess. Because I always like to take off just a little bit of the adhesive so it doesn't get all mushy. But then you have to be careful not to stick your letters in the adhesive that's on your craft sheet. I'm never sure which way to put the O. Should it go wide or tall? I don't know. All right, so there's my hello. Now this technique, I don't know. I have not perfected it. I do not love it. But it is helpful. So I wanted to share it with you. I've seen other people do this and they do it a much better job than I do with it. And maybe it's just that I have a bad compass. I also saw somebody use a washer, like a little washer. And I meant to go check my garage. I need to try that too, because I think that looks interesting as well. But I'm just going to use my little compass here. And I'm going to focus mostly on the edges. And what I'm doing is I'm putting the point down next to my letters. And then I'm using that to make lines. And this is just to get a nice even line all the way across. We'll just come in here. And this is where I don't feel like I have the right technique, because as you turn, I don't know, it gets wider or skinnier. It doesn't stay even. Really got to turn the paper underneath. I don't know, I feel like I need a Lazy Susan or something. So I'm just giving myself an idea, and then I'm just going to freehand to the rest of it. So, give myself some little marks there. And I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm just going to freehand this. I'm using that pencil mark as a guide, but I'm not, you know, I'm not going to say super strict to it. And I feel like I might have made it a little too wide this time, but it'll be okay. This is kind of like, you remember, you know, you're in middle school and you made bubble letters. You would write that boy's name that you liked and then you draw around it and do little bubble letters. This is just like that, only we're using scissors and paper. All right. Cut around the O. And I just think this really matches. I think this whole card, actually both of the cards today, I don't know, for some reason they give me like this 70s vibe to them, right? And so I feel like the bubble letters just really, they match that cloud edge that we did, and just really make it fun. All right, just doing a little bit of cleanup on that corner there. Those are always the hardest bits, right? We're just going to do some little indentations. And there we go. There's our hello. Isn't that fun? So let's put this card together. I have the piece of 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. I'm just folding this in half. And what I like to do is I like to line up the corners and the edge on the other side, and then I hold it real tight. And then I bring my bone folder down, and that just helps get it really in the center, because sometimes that score line isn't perfect, but it's going to help you make a nice fold. And then if you hold it tight so those edges are where you want them, usually you can get it so it's nice and you don't have one side hanging over the edge. That's not true all the time. Sometimes it just doesn't work out, but it really does help. All right, so I'm going to put some adhesive on here. We're going to adhere this to that piece of, and I got glue gushing out, too much glue. All right, so you might decide you don't need this layer. I really like it. I think it adds a little bit something extra. But this is just getting put flat on this other piece of Calypso coral. So it's really, you know, it's just a little extra thing. Oh, more glue. I have a lot of runaway glue on this one. So we used to sell this years and years ago, but it is an adhesive remover. And I just come in, and you can, my lamp fell. Sorry about that. You can still get these. We don't sell them anymore, but you can still get them at the craft store. Oh, and I just made that worse. Make sure the glue is dry first, though. This is why I really try not to use too much glue, because when it gushes out, then you have to deal with getting rid of it. But this will help you just get off some of the extra glue. There we go. Now I want to grab my dimensionals, because every card needs dimensionals. All right, we're going to start by putting the rainbow strip on with some dimensionals. grab my Take Your Pick tool and pull these backs off. Don't forget, I'm showing you 2 cards today, so I still have a whole other card to share with you. And I might just show you the elements on that one because I don't know. All right, so there that is. And then I'm going to take my hello and I'm going to put this on dimensionals too because dimensionals. Is anybody else out there like me that you just love dimensionals? I'm going to pull in some minis. Make sure this is well supported. So then my hello is just going to go right here over my rainbow. So just like that. Isn't that cute? So much fun. I probably should trim that just a little bit more, but super cute. All right, let's move on to the second card. We are using the Sweet Ice Cream stamp set for this. So I'm going to start with some Pale Papaya. I'm going to make a couple of dreamsicles, creamsicles. I don't know. What are they called? I'm going to stamp the bottom on this one in Pale Papaya. And then I'm going to stamp the top, which has gone missing. All right, y'all, this is weird. I got all the stamps out that I needed, I thought. Yep. Oh, there it is. Slid on my desk a little bit here. All right. So I started out with some Pale Papaya. Now I have some So Saffron. And this is one of my old felt pads. I really need to replace this one. And then we're just going to line those up, look right through the stamp. I always start with a darker color because it makes it a little bit easier. So we'll stamp that. I'm going to clean off my stamps so we can switch colors. And now I'm going to grab the Calypso Coral. I'm going to stamp the bottom of this one with Calypso Coral. Set that aside. And then I'm going to stamp the top with the Pale Papaya. And again, just really lean in there and look through that stamp to try to line those up. There we go. Ooh, so much fun. And then I'm going to use, so in the set, you'll notice when I first got this, I was like, why is this? Why are there two, like, why is there a little stick and a big stick? They don't, they don't go together. Well, then I finally realized that this is for making the insides of your popsicles. So there we go. I'm going to stamp that one in Pale Papaya. I'm not going to worry about well, I'll clean that off just a little bit. And then I'm going to stamp this one in Calypso Coral. Just give that inside definition to our popsicles. Isn't that cute? So much fun. Then I have the cinnamon cider. And somewhere, I am losing things left and right here today, folks. After tearing my craft room apart a little bit, my desk area here, I found the missing stamp. Whew. It took me a moment. So it was like stuck underneath my paper up here. It was, yeah, it was hard to find. All right, so I'm just going to stamp these with cinnamon cider. And just try to get them even. That one's a little bit off the stick, but that's okay. And then I just want to fussy cut these. So I'm just going to cut around. Now these are easy to fussy cut, there's not a whole lot of detail to them. And you just want to move the paper and, leave a little border. Sometimes when you're fussy cutting, it just helps to cut off the extra paper. Makes it a little bit easier to get in there and get where you want to be. All right, so just some quick and easy cutting these out, cutting those shapes out. Now I'm going to use a technique just like on the last one, just basically like what we did with the last one. Here I have a piece of basic white cardstock. It is, let me see if I remember. It is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And I'm just going to adhere strips to this. So I cut 1/2 inch strips this time instead of the 1/8 inch strips or the 1/4 inch strips. We're just going to put some adhesive on again and spread that out just a little bit. They're kind of bigger strips, so it doesn't have to be quite as spread out as before. And I'm going to start with the Calypso Coral. I did add in a couple extra colors this time. So I'm going to start over here with the Calypso Coral. And then I'm going to use the Pale Papaya. And again, we're just squishing these right up next to each other. And then I want to add in a little bit of So Saffron. Just like that. We're going to use some soft sea foam. Just sliding them into place when they're not quite there. Trying to keep my fingers out of the stickiness. And then my mint macaron. And it's going to be okay that it's a little bit short down there. That's not a problem. And some Pool Party. And Lavender Lace. And then we're going to go back and end with another piece of Calypso Coral. I can get it in there. All right, there we go. Oops. Slide that down a little bit. It's nice about the liquid adhesive. You can slide it a little bit. Now you'll notice it does kind of hang off the edge here. So on the top and the sides and the bottom too. I'm not so much worried about the bottom because we're going to cut that off. But I'm just going to go ahead and trim up the tops and the sides. Just following my paper snips along the edge of the basic white cardstock. Now you could pull out your paper trimmer and do it with your paper trimmer, but sometimes I just find it easier to just grab my snips and do it that way. So move some of my trash out of the way. Now just like the other card, I'm going to cut the end of this with that basic border die because that is what I am all about today. So, and what I want to do is I kind of want to cut it so it's on kind of an angle. If I can get this, I'm going to turn it this way. It's going to make it a little bit easier. So we want this to kind of look like it's dripping down, and I almost want as much as I can. Now it doesn't, the bips and blobs are different lengths, so it doesn't quite work. But I like to kind of try to get, see how this is kind of one little hump per color. Makes me think of those things that you saw on Pinterest where they take crayons and they glue it to the top of your canvas and then they melt it and it's supposed to melt down and maybe it works or maybe it doesn't. Well, it kind of reminds me of that. So it kind of gives that flavor to it, but a lot easier. It's a no-fail method. All right, so I have my piece of Pale Papaya. I have my card base. This is 8.5 by 5.5 and scored at 4 1/4. And I'm just gonna try to give it a good fold again. using my bone folder. If you don't have a bone folder, they make life so much easier and they last forever. So my piece of pale papaya is 5 1/4 by 4. So we'll just take that and glue that right to the front. I probably should have stamped this first, but we're going to do that afterwards. So now we're going to use Stampin' Dimensionals, and we're going to put this on the front here. For dripping rainbow. I'm just going to put quite a few dimensionals in there. I just want to make sure that all of those drips are really kind of aren't going to get smushed. I want to put a mini right there. So we'll pull those backs off. Using my take your pick tool. Now, if you're trying this at home and it's not working for you, it does take practice. I will tell you that, but it makes it really easy. I have a little trash can right next to my desk. I just grab those all and then I slide them off into my trash. So, and then this is going to go right up at the top here. There's our drippy colors. Now, I have a piece of, now this is a piece of pale papaya and white ribbon. I was going to use it on a different project and I pulled it off and decided not to use it. So I'm going to reuse it for this. So I have a piece of pale papaya and white ribbon. And then I have some white baker's twine. Now I pulled the one that came from my snail mail combo pack, but you could use, which is, you know, no longer available, of course, but you can use the Baker's Twine Essentials pack that has white Baker's Twine in it as well, and it's the same twine, just packaged differently. So all I'm going to do, or attempt to do, is I just want to cinch this up in the middle, but I still want it to stay, didn't want it to twist like that. There we go. So we're just going to cinch it up in a knot in the middle and tie a bow. And we're going to do a fun loopy bow. Give it some good loops on it. All right. Now this is going to go on my card front, and I have to figure out exactly kind of how long. So this is going to go underneath. It's going to go underneath my popsicles. So my popsicles are going to come in here and they're going to pop on. So I always like to kind of lay things out, make sure the sizes, and I've, you know, made my bows the correct loopiness, right? All right, so that's going to work pretty well. We'll go ahead and glue the ribbon on. For this, I'm using some mini glue dots. Now, the regular mini glue dots come in a roll. These are the ones from one of the paper pumpkin kits. I always pull them out and use those. So I just pulled the back off. I'm just gonna grab that. I'm gonna do 2 of these. All right, so that one, the whole thing came off instead of leaving the dot on there. So we'll just go ahead and put it down and then peel the back off. And then this just gets right on our card front. And then we're going to grab some of our dimensionals. Now I do want to put this on here, and I kind of want to figure out, well, where do I want to put my dimensionals? I kind of want them up here towards the top, because we're not going to be able to put as many dimensionals as I would normally put on something, just because we need to leave space for the knot. So I'm going to go ahead and put one down here in this corner. And I do want to see if I can get a mini on the stick. There we go. Pull off those backs. And there is my first popsicle. There's popsicle number 1, and then our second popsicle is going to come in and go right here. Now I'm going to have to stack. Some of the dimensionals. So we'll put some regular dimensionals on the top here. And I go back and forth quite a few times just to make sure that I know where I want the dimensionals, and make sure that once the dimensionals are on there, that it's sitting nice. So then I'm going to take a mini down here, pull off that back, and I'm actually going to put a second dimensional right over top of this, hopefully lining it up as well as I can. The minis are particularly difficult for this, but I'm doing this because this piece is already raised up and this popsicle stick is going to stick to the pale papaya. So I need it to be higher. I need it to be a double. I probably should have checked this before I started taking the backs off, but it's too late now. So we're just going to go with it. So then this one is going to come right in here. And that stacks up just like that. And then we can grab, I have some fabric shears here, and I will just slice off some ends. Now, it looks a little something. We're going to add a greeting to the front of this. I'm going to have my thank you stamp here. And I'm going to grab the Calypso Coral. Now, I did something I should never do, or that always makes me nervous when I do, is that I've made my entire card and now I am stamping, which, how many times could this go wrong? Oh, so many. But we will try to very carefully. And look what I did. I got back stamping up here on my sticks. Those sticks today, well, we'll just leave them. They're okay. You can trim this one just a little bit more. Trim some of that off so it's not quite as noticeable. But we're kind of stuck with it. I knew something would go wrong, right? I'm going to grab my Wink of Stella. Love the Wink of Stella. If you have not tried a Wink of Stella, oh my gosh, the first time I tried the Wink of Stella, I was just like amazed. I was like, oh, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. It's just a great way to get glitter on your projects with zero mess, right? Zero mess. I can put a little bit of glitter on here. It's not messy for me. It's not messy for the person I send it to. So just putting a little bit of Wink of Stella on there. And then, you know what? I'm just going to show you my sample because I'm going to put some Artistry Blooms sequins on here. But instead of sitting here and showing you how I put them all on, I'm just going to show you the sample. You can see where they are. So let me set this aside. Here is the finished one. Isn't that pretty? I added those Artistry Blooms sequins on there, which I love. I need to actually order more. I'm like out of them. They're like, well, I mean, I have a bunch, but I don't have the right size and the right colors. I feel like they needed to put more small ones and fewer big ones because I don't use the big ones as much. So there's that. Here is the first card we made. And then I have an additional sample for you. Here is another one. This also uses that same hello technique that I did. This time I put a rainbow in back and I cut the letters from the different colors of the rainbow, and then I put Wink of Stella on there. I don't know if you can see it, but they are super shiny. Love it. And then here my pale papaya has been dotted, and again I cut the ends with that cloud basic border die. Aren't those adorable? Thank you so much for joining me today. Weren't those fabulous 70s inspired summer cards? I just love them. I hope you loved them too. And thanks for hanging with me through all of the craziness of falling lamps and missing stamps. If you liked today's video, make sure that you like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and then come on back and see me for more tips, techniques, and inspiration. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.